Hi, everybody. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. It's the weekly CHAOSS community call. I've jotted down a few things. Other people can bring things up if they'd like. So if you could add yourself to the minutes, tell us how you're doing. Or I think I had in there, you could include something that you have on your desk that we can't see as well, if you'd like to show anybody on this call something. Here's something for everybody. I have an CHAOSS.Con 2016 wooden token. How about that?
That was a lot more relevant.
Plans to get more. Awesome.
I was going to show
No,
off
that's
my
why I
badge
showed
head.
it. I have never seen that, Matt. Awesome.
Speaking of
All
OSCON,
right,
here's my souvenir from OSCON last year, an NSA notebook.
I have not seen that either.
Can you look up my password? I think I forgot it.
Yeah, I got a lot more than that in here.
Excellent. All right, so yeah, so as people are adding themselves, I think the few things that I had on here is the first thing I had on here that I'd like to talk about a little bit here is the GitLab migration. So this was brought forward to kind of talk about, and I have the document there, and I do think we need to get probably some firmer just finality on this. So I had put in there whether or not we should have a board vote on this. So if you take a look at the document, which is available for anybody, and it's been available for a while, there are still a number of outstanding issues here, concerns. I don't know, page 2 or 3 or something along those lines. And I think I had said in the email to the list that just simply voicing the concerns probably isn't enough. It's not the same as addressing those concerns. So it does seem like there's a number of issues that need to be addressed, probably a bit more formally.
I think the biggest one I've heard recently is just sort of trying to assess the cost of doing this, both in terms of labor. And I think we've addressed the cost in terms of how people find CHAOSS. I think we have a way of doing that on GitLab, but I don't think we've done any work to assess the cost.
Like the
and I've heard a couple of people, the financial cost of people doing the work to move it to GitLab. And yeah. I don't, and it's been raised by a couple other people on different working group calls. And that's the one concern that I think has driven this back onto the agenda.
Yeah, that's my concern, not necessarily from a financial standpoint, unless you're talking about like people's time. I'm concerned about lost momentum. So I feel like we made the decision without knowing how much time it was going to take to actually implement it. And if it's, you know, I don't know, a few man hours, then it's not a big deal. If it's hundreds, then that's going to be a significant loss to the momentum that we have right now, both on the software side, on the metrics definition side. And I think until we actually understand the level of effort that's required, I don't think we can make that decision about the trade-off that we're really making.
Fair. Other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't taken the time to actually assess at all how much I think it'll cost the Augur team to move it over, and I haven't assessed what it's going to cost Risk. In terms of Risk has more software sort of coupled with it than some of the other working groups in terms of a complex piece of software. So I haven't done anything to assess that cost, or at the working group level or at the software level, although I anticipate the software level cost is greater than the working group level cost, with the exception of Risk.
So personally, my biggest concern, mostly because I don't spend a ton of time in the software, is I think largely to Don's point, it's just this. It's a community thing, right? And we have people. And people are doing really good work in the environment we're in now. And just any time and effort that it takes to do that move is loss on that work over the summer. And that's just a concern. That is probably my primary
Well, it's lost.
concern.
I mean, and I would just say it's cost in the fall, not in the summer, because we agreed not to do it until the fall.
Yeah, I didn't mention time, but whenever that might be. So one of the things I'd put in there is it completely, so one of the reasons that this came up in really in the first place, from what I understand, was from Grimoire Lab's perspective, because they have so many different repositories on GitHub, they were having a hard time with issue tracking, so that each repository would have its own set of issues, and developers would have to go through each one of those repositories and really triage or handle each one of the issues in one of the 20 different repos that they had. And GitLab provides an opportunity to kind of consolidate that issue tracking in a way that's aggregated across the entire Grimoire Lab landscape. Georg, did I get that pretty much right?
I know Santi is on the call. Yes, you did get that right. But since Santi is on the call, I wanted to see if Santi wanted to say something on this as well. Because Santi was the first one to post this on the mailing list with the question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So I wasn't sure if you were able to hear me. So yeah, it's what you were saying, Matt. In my opinion, that was our first, but that was our first interest to move to GitLab was because what you said. But we can explore different options in GitHub. It's not a problem. In any case, I've been checking today the numbers about because another concern is the cost in continuous integration, because Augur and us, we use a lot the continuous integration. So if we spend in GitLab, there are like 2,000 minutes for free for continuous integration to use their system. But if you pass those numbers, you need to either pay or install a worker, so you can use the worker to do all the continuous integration. I've been checking how many minutes we have been doing that for the last month, and we passed by far the 2,000 minutes, which means that we will have to pay, probably. And if we have to pay, at least it's like 20 to get 9,000 minutes. We need to pay $20 per user per month, which I think for us is unaffordable. The other option would have can be to install the worker in our premises, but someone has to keep that updated and working and so on, which is a cost also.
Okay. Sean, did you have a comment?
And from Augur's perspective, it's really the labor cost of having established all the continuous integration, and we don't exceed the 2,000 minute limit. So the cost
800 or something like that, but it will be for the whole group. So it will be, it won't be only for Augur or Grimoire Lab. It will be for CHAOSS group.
Yeah, it'd be Augur plus Grimoire Lab.
Exactly.
And are we paying that right now?
No.
No.
And why would we start paying that if we're not paying it now?
This is the discussion.
No, I mean, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's so I guess my question is, if it's 9,000 minutes or whatever it is, if it's 2,000 minutes of continuous integration and we're not paying it now, what's changing that's going to have to cause us to pay it?
So right now, again, from what I understand, GitLab provides 2,000 minutes of CI, continuous integration support for free.
Okay.
Beyond
Exactly.
that, there's a cost.
Okay.
Oh,
What about the GitHub continuous integration work?
So
that does
we
not.
use Augur and Primolab use Travis, which is free. If
Okay.
your open source, if you have an open source project, it's free.
Okay, yeah, we use Travis as well, and it's free.
So
Our main cost with Travis has been all the work we've put into creating that continuous integration set of hooks into Travis.
Yeah,
And it's not a trivial amount of money.
No, of course. GitLab, it's similar to Travis, and it have better things, in my opinion, for continuous integration, because you can define several stages, and well, I think the features are better than the ones in Travis for free. But the problem is you need to use their system. You cannot use Travis, or as far as I know, you can. There's no way to do that. And there are other continuous integration systems that are integrated with GitHub, like Circle.CI and others. But for GitLab, I think the only option is to use the continuous integration solution.
So Santi, I don't know if you saw in the chat message, as an open source project, we can get on the gold tier for free with GitLab, which gives us 50,000 minutes per month.
Okay, I didn't find the thing. Where did you find that? Because when I was checking yesterday the pricing.
I think that's an offer that GitLab made to us, if I'm not incorrect.
It's in the document that we're discussing. And Nuritzi put that information in the document.
Yeah, it's part of the standard offering for open source programs, and I'm gonna make a suggestion here. I mean, I've been trying to abstain from the conversation for obvious reasons. I have an obvious conflict of interest, but I mean, I do agree with both Don and Sean in terms. I think we need to figure out I mean, even if it's like number of person hours, how many hours it's going to take to do the transition, even just a code repository. Like unless, and then, you know, whatever the number is, let's say we come up with a number like a 50 hours. I think, Sean, especially for Augur, you need to make a decision on is it worth it? And I think the Santi's your point. I mean, you can keep the Travis CI for a while, and then, you know, if you want to transition later to the GitLab CI CD, you can do that later on. But I know, like, from a lot of people's experience, it's not fun, like migrating like a Travis CI scripts over to GitLab, because it's a lot of manual work. I mean, there are tips and tricks that you can look up that could help you do that. But, you know, Sean, I don't know how many hours you guys spend setting up that CI system in Travis, but you probably have to replicate that amount of work, right? And then, you know, it's a you know, depending on how many hours that was, you probably have to figure out if it's worth doing. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think just this spring, we made some changes this spring using Docker containers instead of the old server setup that we were using. And I mean, just that effort alone took us about 100 hours-ish, I would estimate, without talking to Carter, who's the one who did it. I mean, it was months of working on all the little glitches. And the first time we did it without the Docker containers, it was months of calendar time, like and it's pretty much what Carter focused on when it was happening. So I don't know I'd have to go talk to Carter about what that cost would be. I've kind of kept the discussion out of their purview right now.
And the only other thing, and I'll shut up after this, is, you know, I think a lot of this decision and feedback has to come from people that are going to do the work in the technical community. I mean, we have a lot of board members that are very hands-on and know intimately the amount of work involved, and you probably have to do the work yourself. I mean, I think the board may need to be probably needs to be notified on the decision, but I don't know why board needs to vote on this. I think there needs to be a consensus from the technical community that this is the right thing to do or not, and then board just gets informed. And I don't know if a lot of the board members, you know, why the board members would have to get involved in even improving this thing, whether to do it or not. But that's just my take. But
so my
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that maybe the board should approve it because just mostly approving that trade-off, the time that it's going to take to make this change versus what we're going to lose in momentum on the project. That was the bit that feels to me like a board decision, less about the technical ins and outs of what it is that we're doing, but just the kind of the effort and what we're giving up to do it.
So when I was
okay, I mean that's a fair point. Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this, it just from me right now, we're kind of sitting at lazy consensus on moving, and that just seems really for a large decision. It seems really nebulous to me. So whether it's the board or it's an assigned technical committee or an assigned committee that actually makes the recommendation, I would love to put a point, some sort of final point on this, that we are doing this or we are not doing this. Because from a governance perspective, that just seems a lot cleaner to me. Because as it stands right now, and I've been on all of these calls and taken a look at this document, it seems still very nebulous to me. It does. It doesn't seem exceedingly clear. And so somebody or some group of people, I'm thinking, needs to take this on in a very precise way.
Hi,
So
it's
again,
just
yeah.
my 2 cents. I'm on the board and I haven't been following this very closely, so I wouldn't want to make the technical decision. However, if it helps the community to say that, okay, let's prepare a material for the board so that they have a really good understanding of why we are doing what we are doing, how we are doing, what the trade-offs, and then the board can vote on it, not from technical perspective, but kind of putting that stamp based on the material that has all the factors and the decision points outlined. If that helps, I think it would make sense to sort of formalize this, and then we can say that, okay, it was said, it was presented, there's the material, and we made the decision because of this and this and that, and then it will be clear for everyone. So if that from process perspective is not a too big overhead, I think we could probably do that, because I assume that it also can help to people if there's an exercise like this to really collect all the pros and cons and put it on a paper, just for also themselves to understand better the full picture. Just a thought.
So Ildiko, would your recommendation be that a group of people that could self-select into, say, a committee put together a document that defines the pros and cons, and then that committee brings that document forward to the board and the board votes? Would that be the process?
Yes, but again, I don't want to force it. If we all feel that this is reasonable, I think this could work, because I also think that it could put an end to the kind of fuzzy feeling of, well, we kind of want to do this, but we have some cons that we are not sure about. So just kind of formalize it.
Okay.
Don't want to create too much overhead either. But again, I think this could work.
Cool.
And I think I think what Dawn and I have both discussed on this call is part of those pros and cons is understanding the costs, maybe even on a working group and software process basis, maybe a cost, total cost in hours per project, as well as a benefit if there are benefits that projects see, because it sounds like Grimoire Labs team sees a benefit.
Wait, sorry, but probably missed part of the conversation. But when you are talking about effort, what are you meaning? What's the meaning of that?
So
So
the costs are easy. It's the human time costs of what we've already done with Travis CI, and from a benefits perspective, I understand from an issue tracking point of view, Grimoire Lab also sees some benefits. So I think just listing costs doesn't provide the full picture. Listing benefits provides the whole sort of complete financial-ish trade-off.
Okay, so but are we also talking about the people in CHAOSS community learning the new platform and moving all the data and all the documents that we have there to the GitLab, etc.? So
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, and I think that like moving Markdown, I don't see as remarkably costly. It's moving software, and some of the working groups have more or less integration with the software pieces.
Yeah, because as far as I know, well, there's an option to migrate the projects from GitHub to GitLab is automatically. So it's just to paste the URL of the name of the group and the name of the repository, and it does everything. But I don't think that migrates wiki pages. I'm pretty sure it migrates the source code, the issues, pull requests for sure not, but I'm not sure about all the documentation that you might have there.
It does not migrate the pull requests?
No, because they use merge requests, which is a different thing.
Okay.
But I think, in GitHub, issues and pull requests pull requests are a subset of issues. So
yes.
I think the information of the pull request regarding the issue, it's going to be there, but not the
commits and the merges are lost.
Yeah, the reviews on this kind of things.
Within CHAOSS.
I'm not exactly sure about that. But I can check it. No.
Yeah, within CHAOSS, that's not a huge difference. I think a lot of software projects would have a hard time with that transition, losing all their pull request data. Yeah. But that's not our problem. That just means the projects we study are less likely to move.
Yeah, the bit that I'm worried about is more on the integrations and automation. So anything that we have automated in GitHub, any integrations we have with continuous, CI systems, CD systems, whatever we have that's automated and kind of, tied into GitHub in some way, all of that is going to have to be migrated as well. I'm not actually worried about clicking that button that migrates the stuff from GitHub to GitLab. That seems relatively straightforward. It's the integrations and automation that I'm worried about.
Yeah, well, in the case of Grimoire Lab, that thing won't be we won't spend much time on that because the continuous integration is very easy. And what we have in Travis is very simple. So it will be really easy to incorporate that in GitLab. But I understand that maybe in the case of Sean and Augur, they might have worse problems than we will have. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. Especially when some said that they have been spending like months creating their pipeline. So
can I make a recommendation then, kind of based on this, and see how people react to it? That we do actually establish a group of people, a committee of folks who are either interested in or will be affected by this change. So that would be, it's not the board initially, but it's a group of people with an interest or who would be affected most closely by this change, to form a committee. And we put together a formal document that would represent everything with respect to estimated time, estimated effort, and estimated cost. So the estimated time it would take to move the working groups, the estimated time it would take to move the software, the effort in doing that. So, you know, some may be an hour of time and it's not a lot of effort either. Some might be an hour of time and it's a very challenging effort. And then any financial cost that might be incurred in making this move. So some sort of, where everything gets represented, whether it's a cost or a benefit, everything gets represented in terms of some bottom line. And that this committee then puts together a series of options to vote on to the board, perhaps. I don't know about this last step. So, you know, one option is do nothing, one option is do everything. The options may include timing. One option that I'd been thinking about would be that, and people may tell me I'm crazy, but say Grimoire Lab would sit on GitLab and be mirrored on GitHub, and the rest of CHAOSS would stay on GitHub. I don't know if that's even a thought, you know, that you would actually have your community split like that. And then this is brought forward to vote on by the board. This is what I'm hearing. I'm not trying to push anything. I'm just, it seems like people are asking to kind of tap the brakes a little bit on what we're doing and think a little bit more systematically about what's in that document and what the cost is going to be. And I
think that what the board should vote on, if the decision is to go with the migration, I think we should vote to do a pilot of one of the software projects, and then reassess. So what I don't want to do is vote on it, say we're going to do it, and then do a pilot, and then I think we need to come back and make a final decision after there's a pilot, if we decide to do a pilot and proceed. But I would definitely like to see a pilot, because until we actually do this, we won't really understand all of the things that we're going to run into.
Fair.
Yeah, and I think obviously Grimoire Lab won't, I mean, I think there needs to be a couple working groups. I think Augur should commit, I think Augur and Grimoire Lab should commit X number of hours to a pilot. For us, we've got one repository, so that's easy. I mean, for us, a pilot would be doing the whole thing. And my back channel with Carter is approximately what that would cost. So we can't pilot the whole thing, but we could pilot getting started and seeing which of our assumptions are valid and update our estimates based on trying to do it a little bit. And then project out actual costs based on what we learn in the pilot. But we won't finish the migration in the pilot phase.
So
we can do that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Santi.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't have any problem with to do that. My only concern is that the needs of Augur and Grimoire Lab cannot be the same needs that you have in all the chaos working groups. So probably we need a pilot also for some group or something like that too.
Yeah, I think we should pick a couple, 2 to 3 work. I mean, I guess we don't have that many workers. Maybe pick 2 of the working groups. I suggest risk be one of them, and that it doesn't change the public facing nature. Like, this is something we're doing behind the scenes, not promoting as something we're doing, but just we separately, without announcement, try it so that we understand better what it is we're talking about doing.
Could we, would people want to form a committee on this that's not done here in the community calls? That we actually talk about how we would take a look at the costs and then what the proposal would be. To me, that makes more sense, that we take the document that Georg started and really start kind of looking at the costs associated with that document, right? But that wouldn't occur here. That would occur with a group of people who volunteer to do that work.
And then we could just get regular updates like we do from the working groups here in this call.
Yes, correct. And so now if to me that makes kind of process-wise sense. Right, and it would be very open. The group would be open and transparent, and anybody can join, and documents are available, and all that stuff. So then the question would be: is who? Looking at everybody, and just because you're on this call doesn't mean you have to do this, but who would like to volunteer to be on that committee? It will take more time. So I will volunteer to be on that committee. I mean, if you're on the committee, you can still obviously provide feedback, but I do think there's a group of people that needs to sit down and do this work.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can afford to not participate.
I'm available.
Thanks,
I'm also happy to continue.
Okay.
Carter
Santi,
volunteers.
Santi, I think I heard you say you would too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Carter volunteers to participate.
I have them down. So I have me, Sean, Armstrong, Georg, Carter, Santi, and Matt Snow.
So I'll join in on that discussion as well. The website is built from GitHub modules, so it probably will be affected.
Yeah, boy, that's another piece that we all are starting to depend on, and the people who use CHAOSS are starting to depend on being the way that it is. So yeah, the website should be represented for sure.
Okay, so then I'll circle back with everybody on this list to set up a time that we can start meeting regularly and start spending some time and effort to articulate more clearly the costs associated with this.
And I think from our perspective, the sooner we begin this work, the better.
I'm not one to drag my feet, so you'll be getting an email from pretty quickly.
Do we want to set a deadline for the assessment?
Let's talk about that when we meet.
Okay.
But yes, probably so. Any other thoughts? This is a super good conversation. Thank you, everybody, for this. This is crazy important for the project. So, all right. Well, that took time, but that's okay. I had a few more updates. One is we got accepted for Google Season of Docs. So Venu is on. Thanks, Venu, for spearheading that. So that's great. Take a look at the email. He's been sending out a few email for folks that are going to be mentoring for Google Season of Docs. There's a little bit of form stuff you have to fill out. So take care of that. Venu, did you want to make any comments on that?
No, I don't have any comments.
Okay. This is great. We're working under the umbrella of the Linux Foundation. We do have, I think, is it 9 Google Summer of Code students?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah, 9 days.
Yes. We have
Yes.
one outreachy student. And then we'll yet to be determined Google Season of Docs. One of the things that we did just chat about between Matt Snell, who had the idea, Georg, and Ray, is we're gonna offer to all of the Google Summer of Code and outreachy students registration for OSSNA virtual. So it's $50, and it's a nice way to get all of the students kind of involved in an open source summit this summer. So I think that's cool. Anything else on that?
I think I just went to Google Season of Docs, and I don't see that I have any access to see our project or the people submitting it. So if
Did you click on that?
I don't know,
Venu had
did I click on
sent
what?
out an email.
Like we need to
Venu sent
register
out
in
an
that form which I have sent
Okay.
in the email. So yeah,
Venu, why
maybe
don't you
after
send
that
it?
we'll get an access.
Okay,
Yeah, send it to me.
I think I found it.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that we do ask is that the students introduce themselves or the mentees and introduce themselves on the mailing list. So if you could please say hi back, that would be great. And they're also going to be doing blogging. So Kevin, I think Tola had reached out to you with respect to setting up blogs on the webpage. I don't know if that's all worked out.
Yep, we have the first pull request for I think it's an outreachy blog.
Okay, yeah, that's Tola.
So it is, I think it's ready to be merged. As soon as it's merged, I will put it on the website.
Right on, thanks. All right, I'm moving down the list. CHAOSS.Con North America. We're still moving forward with this. So thanks for everybody kind of on the events team. So we had gotten some quote, some dollar quotes from the Linux Foundation. We're slowly working through kind of what it would cost to run CHAOSS.Con NA. We're looking at, I have a few notes on there. It looks like it's late July, early August would be the dates from what I'm listening to in the conversation. Looks like we're kind of settling in on a 2 to 3 day event. If anybody can tell me that I'm mishearing things, please don't hesitate to let me know. But it's kind of what I'm hearing just from people talking. So that's that.
What do you mean sorry, what do you mean 2 to 3 day event? Define day.
Short days, like a couple hours on the days, you know. So no, not all day, 2 to 3 day events. I guess maybe my thought was because we had it as a single day before, like 8 hours. If it was 3 days, it was basically be taking that, 7 or 8 hours and splitting it up over 3 days. People, I don't know. Nothing. That was my thought.
Well, I think a lot of that though were things like, at least in North America, last time we had quite a few workshops, which may not work over Zoom, or maybe differently over Zoom.
One of the suggestions I had along those lines was that from what they were telling us, panels seem to generate a lot more conversation and engagement than long talks.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like 3 days of 3-hour Zoom calls each on top of all of the other meetings I have doesn't sound awesome. It's just me. Like, I feel like people are virtual conferenced, Zoom meeting out, and I want to be careful about, do we really need 8 hours of CHAOSS content?
Also, is this I'm sorry. Is this connected to that $20,000 price tag that was in the email?
Yeah, no, I didn't share that with everybody, so
I'm sorry. I apologize.
So no, I mean, I agree that 8 hours of Zoom like more Zoom over the course of 3 days sounds hard on the brain. I mean, at some point, there's going to be hours. We have to have some hours. I mean, we could do an hour.
Do we?
Okay.
Do we have to have some hours? I mean, we could. I feel like we should step back a bit, and I've been saying this a lot in calls about organizing virtual events. I think we should step back and think about what we really want to accomplish out of CHAOSS.Con and what's the best way to accomplish that in a virtual format. And how important is it that we accomplish this in the first place? I'll be honest, we decided to just cancel the Contrib Summit for Amsterdam. Sorry, the Kubernetes Contributor Summit for the Amsterdam KubeCon, because it was, the benefit was in the hallway track and it was just too much. And so we decided we'd focus on Boston, which is the next Contributor Summit in the fall.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not saying we should cancel it. I'm saying we should consider all of our options, figure out what we need to do, and then decide what the best way to do that is.
I'll say personally, what I'm putting down here is trying to capture what I'm hearing from a variety of people. Personally, I'm in favor of canceling it. Personally, that's just me altogether. That's me speaking on my behalf. I think we should focus on FOSDEM in 2021. I think the summer would be better spent with Google Summer of Code and Outreachy and Google Season of Docs and advancing the metrics and doing what we can otherwise outreach wise. I agree that I think people are burned out on Zoom calls, and that's my take. So everything I have here was mostly just trying to capture what I was kind of hearing.
I would 100% agree with that. I actually don't think we should do a CHAOSS.Con North America. I think we should focus on FOSDEM, but we have a couple of other things that, so we have the podcast, so that's new. So that's something that I think is fantastic, that we can get some content out there that we weren't getting out before. The other thing that I really think needs some love, and I contributed to this last week, is the blog. We could be, if you have something that you want to get out to the CHAOSS audience, you could record a 5-10 minute video about it and do a little blog post and upload the video to YouTube, and we could get our blog kind of back up onto sort of a regular cadence with something, a post a week, a few posts a month, something. And we could think about creative ways to get the word out about CHAOSS that doesn't involve yet another virtual conference.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I look at my own blogging and I'm feeling shame at the little of it that I have done. I don't disagree with that. I think if there's the only thing I would add is if there's a way to, I don't know, I guess blogs kind of happen when we do them. And we have Georg doing a wonderful job organizing the podcasts. I wonder if maybe when we hire our new community manager, one of the things that person could do is help to sort of shepherd, push, cajole, encourage, schedule routine blog posts from the community.
Yeah, that is absolutely something a community manager should be doing for us once we have one.
And the only other thought I have, which is a little weird, is instead of CHAOSS.Con, one of the things that people miss the most about physically getting together are the hallway conversations. My personal assessment is I'm not sure the globe will be open when FOSDEM occurs. And so I think we might need to plan for a longer term absence of physically being with each other, and maybe something like an occasional CHAOSS.Con schedule cadence, a couple hours in the CHAOSS hallway, meeting other CHAOSS people and talking to them.
Yeah, I've seen more and more people doing that, actually. So our organization, the Open Source Program Office within VMware, has a weekly social hour now where it's like a different topic every time. Once it was like crazy shirts or something, or pandemic pizza. And so we have, like, because we do this weekly and it's a team thing, but we could easily, like the To-Do group is also doing this, where they're doing more frequent kind of social calls where it's just like 30 minutes. And we could do something like that for the CHAOSS community if we wanted, you know, sort of the CHAOSS community social hour once a month or something.
Yeah, I think the challenge is like getting, like, I mean, what was great about the CHAOSScon we just had in Brussels was like we had, I think, a lot of new people show up, which is great. I mean, that's like, I mean, I agree with Sean. Like, I'm not even optimistic about events next year. Like, you know, like even if like for miraculously somebody decides to hold the event, like who's going to show up is a big concern. So I agree. If we like, I mean, I think like we're like really too close to July and August. It probably makes sense to cancel it, but we probably need to have a separate discussion about how do we engage with people in a more creative fashion, like outside of events. Like, I mean, I'm pretty convinced that events are not going to happen the rest of the year, and it's questionable even about Q1 next year.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, you know, I feel like we've done successfully with CHAOSScon by partnering up with some other events, is that you do get a lot of sort of fall over from FOSDEM
Right.
and from Open Source Summit North America, and so you get some attendees that are interested in metrics but wouldn't have thought to come to this as a standalone thing. And I'm not sure how we replicate that in a virtual environment. That's something that's really, really difficult, and it's something that I think a lot of the conferences are struggling with right now, because there are so many of these like kind of fringe events that happen around conferences because all the people are physically located in the space anyways, and that I don't think we've figured out how to replicate that
No,
sort of serendipity.
I think you're right. We're sort of like buskers showing up at Woodstock right now, and there is no Woodstock. Do people know what I mean by busker? It's a person who stands on the side of the road playing their guitar and you throw money in it. You know, we happen to be at the place where all the people are, I guess is my point.
The guitar player on the road.
What?
We're the guitar player on the road.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we are benefiting from the fact that we're having our events around larger events.
So I also agree with canceling, and I also second other ways of outreach. One of just talking about the podcast, I would like to move to a much faster schedule. Right now it's once per month is releasing it. I would like more help from the community, so more organizers. If we can get one more person to help with organizing, then we would have 4 people organizing. So right now it's Matt, Broberg, me, Vinya volunteered. We still need to onboard her on the organizing. And if we get one more organizer, then we have 4. That is 1 per week of each month. And then we just get a few more regular panelists, like more, then we can run 1 podcast episode every week.
Question, is organizing effectively finding who the people to interview that week are and who the panelists that week are, and getting a time scheduled across that universe, doing all the sound checks, and then you'll tell us how to pass it on to our producer?
Yes.
Sound okay. I can do that. I can take that on once a month because it's really important, and I can handle getting people together. Is there a public list of who's been on already so that we don't repeat accidentally?
I have you connect with Georg. We're at 50 minutes or
all right.
So we're gonna call on this one. So you had volunteered. That's cool.
Thank you, Sean.
I would second that, because we've got some great podcasts in the pipeline, and if we wait too long, they'll be a little obsolete if we do it monthly.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Thank you, everybody. This was super helpful today. Actually got a lot done. So
Matt, are you taking the to-do of scheduling the working group or the task force looking at GitLab, GitHub? Okay.
I'll out to coordinate people that way.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Really
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yep.